Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my undervalued Dynasty Fantasy Football player list. Inside of today's video, I'll be going in depth into 4 different players who I believe right now, based upon their ADP, as well as based upon the consensus of Dynasty Fantasy Football players, that these 4 players are undervalued. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my undervalued fantasy football player list. So we begin with Michael Gallup, wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys, who is keep trade cut wide receiver number 39. Now, right now, as I'm recording this video in the middle of March, ADP values on a lot of websites are very out of whack, and I believe that keep trade cuts wide receiver rankings, running back, quarterback, tight end rankings are basically a very good tell as to how people value players in Dynasty Fantasy Football. So I think if you were to do a Dynasty Fantasy Football draft right now, that around wide receiver number 39 is where Michael Gallup would be going. Amari Cooper was traded to the Browns, moving Gallup up to be the number 2 wide receiver on the team behind CeeDee Lamb. Now I know what you might be thinking, Nick, that is not locked and loaded, because Jerry Jones is a little bit crazy like that, and he might just say fuck it and draft a wide receiver in the first round. And that is entirely possible, but I think even if that is the case and you drafted him at wide receiver number 39, you took that risk, it didn't pay off, but the risk could have a humongous payoff if they don't say draft someone in the first round. Maybe they draft another wide receiver, but Michael Gallup is the number 2 wide receiver for at least this year. Then man, oh man, Michael Gallup could easily potentially have a top 12 season at the wide receiver position. In 2021, he only ended up playing in 9 games, finishing as the wide receiver number 78.5 PPR and the wide receiver number 50 in half PPR, 62 targets, 6.9 per game. Very nice, 6.9. Number 67 at the wide receiver position, 35 receptions, 3.9 per game, ranking 78th at wide receiver, 445 receiving yards, 49.4 per game, ranking 78th at the wide receiver position, and 2 total touchdowns, number 79 at the wide receiver position. When looking at the season as a whole, obviously, none of those accolades, none of those stats that I just discussed are jumping off the screen out of my mouth and making you guys super fucking excited to pick up Michael Gallup, to go ahead and trade for him or go ahead and draft him in your 2022 Dynasty Fantasy Football draft. But what should make you think about it is the situation that he is in, as well as what he has done when he has been given the opportunity to be the number 1 or the number 2 guy in the Dallas Cowboys offense. I really do believe that if given the chance to be the number 2 guy behind CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup has the skill set. He has the talent to be a top 12 wide receiver, and he is on a team that is set up for that success for him. And what I mean when I say that is that he is on a team that isn't completely dog shit, right? They have a good quarterback in Dak Prescott. You can say what you want about him. I like to joke about Dak Prescott. Oh, why you're running with 13 seconds, 10 seconds left in a playoff game? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. But in reality, Dak, there's an argument you can make that he's potentially a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So he is in a very good situation, Michael Gallup being in an excellent scenario for success. Again, if they end up drafting a wide receiver in the first round, then this take might be a swing and a miss. But in my opinion, if you are acquiring him for the value of wide receiver number 39, to me, that is an absolute no-brainer. Let me know down below in the comment section who your guys' undervalued Dynasty players are going to be based upon what you guys have been seeing the trends of right now. Next up, we move to my second undervalued Dynasty player, and that is going to be my main man, Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins, quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, keep trade cut quarterback 21. Now, instantly, when I said Kirk Cousins, multiple things probably shot directly into your mind. After just hearing the name Kirk Cousins, you're probably thinking, Nick, Kirk Cousins isn't all that good. Kirk Cousins, basically, if you Googled a quarterback in the NFL that's mid, a picture of Kirk Cousins would show up, right? And I understand that. I understand that it's probably improbable that Kirk Cousins, over the next couple of seasons, ends up being, let's say, quarterback, top 5 quarterback going forward, right? That seems pretty improbable, and I would agree with that. But even with that said, even if I don't believe, and you, the viewer, don't believe that Kirk Cousins is a top 5 quarterback, the value you are getting at quarterback 21 is absolutely fucking absurd for a quarterback who's probably going to play another 5+ years. And again, maybe things fall off the edge of the earth after this season, after next season. But even then, at quarterback 21, if you're getting him there, Kirk Cousins puts your team in a position to compete. In 2021, he plays in 16 games, finishing as the quarterback number 11 on the season and quarterback number 12 in points per game. He has 561 passing attempts, 35.1 per game, ranking 10th at quarterback, 66.3% completion percentage, 4,221 passing yards, 263.8 per game, ranking 9th at quarterback, 33 passing touchdowns, ranking 9th at quarterback, 7 interceptions, as well as 29 carries for 115 yards and a touchdown. Now, I know you might also be thinking, Nick, I watched yesterday's video and you told me that Mac Jones is not a good fantasy quarterback because he can't run the ball, and that devalues him. Wouldn't that be the same for Kirk Cousins? Yes. But the reason why I argued Mac Jones can't be elite is the same reason why I'd argue the same thing for Kirk Cousins. But the thing is, Kirk Cousins is on the Vikings. He is in a scenario where Kirk Cousins isn't necessarily put to the position to be just a game manager. Kirk Cousins isn't just a game manager in Minnesota, whereas Mac Jones, to me, is never really going to have a year like Kirk Cousins could have. Because would you be surprised if Kirk Cousins next year, last year he threw 33 passing touchdowns? 33 passing touchdowns. What if next year he throws 37? That wouldn't surprise you. Do you believe that Mac Jones could throw 35, 37 touchdowns in 2022, or maybe in the next couple of years? To me, I don't think so. That's not the position that he's in. Kirk Cousins is in a much better position in terms of fantasy football. Will he be a Minnesota Viking 2-3 years from now? That is certainly up in the air, right? There is no way to know that that is locked in. But what I do know is that at least for 2022, that he's locked in there, and I believe that as long as he doesn't just fall off the edge of the earth, then Kirk Cousins is going to be the starting quarterback of the Vikings, and he's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL going forward. And again, a lot of people like to throw a lot of hate at Kirk Cousins, and maybe he earns that, right? Maybe next year, instead of quarterback 11, he's quarterback 15. Even if that is the case, at quarterback 21, the value is insane on Kirk Cousins. But before we get on into the next player, we got 2 more players to go. I would like to let you guys know about our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, and they are known for their NFL best ball tournaments. However, Underdog does not stop there. Underdog has plenty of other contests for you to compete in, including a live draft contest, as well as pick'ems that you guys can make up to 20 times your entry fee. Use promo code Awesemo. Again, promo code Awesemo on the screen right here where I'm pointing, promo code Awesemo, to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 and get started on Underdog Fantasy today. So back on into the point of the video here. Thank you again to Underdog for sponsoring today's video, the undervalued dynasty players. Next up, we got Mr. James Conner, running back of the Arizona Cardinals. Keep trade cut running back 31. I expect that to climb a little. Maybe he'll be in the top 24 a week from now after the news about him signing a 3-year contract worth $21 million with the Arizona Cardinals. And Chase Edmonds does not re-sign with the team and gets shipped off to Miami. He is now a Miami Dolphin. In 2021, 15 games for James Conner, running back 5.5 PPR on the season, running back number 6 in half PPR points per game. Again, in these videos, I like to make a distinction between finish on the season and points per game finish, because the reason why some running backs finish inside the top 12 is because those motherfuckers play in all the games, right? They play in all of the games, and then they're able to finish that high because some of the other running backs didn't play in all those games. James Conner played in 15 games, finishes as the running back 5 on the season, running back 6.5 PPR points per game finish at the end of the season. So I look a lot into that points per game number because that is what is very telling for me on how skilled a running back really is, or a wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, any position. You can get a lot of information from that. 202 carries, 13.5 per game, ranking 17th at running back, 752 rushing yards, 50.1 per game, ranking 24th at running back, 39 targets, 2.6 per game, ranking 37th at running back, 37 receptions, 2.5 per game, ranking 27th at running back, 375 receiving yards, 25.0 per game, ranking 11th at running back, and 18 total tugs, ranking 3rd at running back. So James Conner put on a clinic, and that's with Chase Edmonds there, not necessarily sniffing up his ass like he's going to steal the job or something, because that just didn't seem very probable, but Chase Edmonds was still there getting receiving work, right? Only 39 targets for James Conner. Now, I understand, but Nick, they're going to draft another running back. They're going to bring someone else in to be the pass-catching back. Maybe. They're obviously going to have to use someone else. You can't just put James Conner in for 100% of the snaps. No team does that. Even Christian McCaffrey is out for a couple plays, right? And I don't think James Conner, with his track record of health, like his injury concerns, they're going to throw him out there for 90% of snaps, right? That would be idiotic. But what's going to happen is they're going to bring someone else in. But if it's not a pass-catching running back, if it's not one of those guys like a Chase Edmonds type, James White type, if you kind of get what I'm saying, then James Conner is in a really fucking good position in Arizona to potentially finish as a top 12 running back. Now, again, keep trade cut running back 31. I think that value is a little bit low. I think he'd be closer to running back 24. But with 3 years left on the contract starting now, I think James Conner is a steal at that value, and I really do think that James Conner could easily be a top 5 running back in 2022. My final undervalued dynasty player, I've talked about him a little bit recently, and that is Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver of the Detroit Lions. Keep trade cut wide receiver number 25. So DJ Chark signs a 1-year, basically a prove-it deal with the Detroit Lions, and it appears that people on Dynasty Twitter that, oh, Nick, you can't get all of your Dynasty takes from Twitter. Of course not. But what I'm saying is I feel like the normal fan might panic a little bit about DJ Chark. Don't panic at all. It's a 1-year prove-it deal. Nick, they're going to draft another receiver. Probably. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, to me, is still going to be the number 1 guy in that offense. In 2021, playing in 17 games with only 9 starts, wide receiver 21.5 PPR, wide receiver 30.5 PPR points per game. The points per game number is kind of skewed here because he only started in 9 games, 119 targets, 7.0 per game, ranking 23rd at wide receiver, 90 receptions, 5.3 per game, ranking 13th at wide receiver. He had 912 receiving yards, 53.6 per game, ranking 27th at wide receiver, and 6 total touchdowns, number 20 at wide receiver. I understand that it's pretty unlikely that we see what Amon-Ra St. Brown did down the stretch of the season, where this man seeing like 9, 10 targets plus every single game, right? That seems a little bit crazy. But for a guy who is as young as Amon-Ra St. Brown to be wide receiver number 25, I understand he's on the Lions. Things are going to get better in Detroit. And I think that at wide receiver number 25, that is a slap in the face of what we saw of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Again, the targets are going to decrease. That almost seems like a guarantee, right? When you play in just 9 starts, 17 games, you get 119 targets. Maybe that goes down on a per-game basis. Maybe he has 120 plus targets, right? Because he actually plays more, right? That would make sense. But I'm talking about on a per-game standpoint, maybe it's not as much, but he's still just as talented, right? Because they bring in DJ Chark doesn't mean all the value is stripped away from DJ Chark or from Amon-Ra St. Brown. If anything, that might actually help out Amon-Ra St. Brown because they have another wide receiver there who's actually pretty solid, right? DJ Chark, when healthy, is no slouch. But again, this doesn't devalue Amon-Ra St. Brown like people are talking about. So if you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, don't panic. Be happy about Amon-Ra St. Brown because I love Amon-Ra St. Brown going forward. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. I'd appreciate it a ton. Make sure you guys check out Underdog Fantasy. Again, promo code Awesemo to get a first deposit match bonus of up to $100. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, goodbye.